Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is a little different than what I normally do. It's not about fashion, it's not about beauty, it's about my birth story. And I really wanted to do this because on Sunday when this video goes up, I'll be 9 months postpartum. And I wanted to do this first and foremost for myself, to have it to look back on, to remember everything while it's still fresh in my mind. And I can't believe I've even waited this late to do it right now. But also, I just really hope maybe for some expectant moms out there who may be thinking of going naturally for childbirth, that it is encouraging, hopeful, helpful, all of the above. So if you think that this is an interesting video, remember to give me a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button down below for my weekly normal fashion, beauty, lifestyle videos. So let's get into it. So little man's actually sleeping in the nursery next door. It's probably getting to be the end of his nap, so he might make an appearance towards the end. So a little backstory about my pregnancy. My husband and I, we're new to the area that we're living in right now. I didn't have a normal OBGYN that I was seeing here. So we literally moved here and got pregnant. So there wasn't even like an introductory phase of getting to know this new doctor. So I went to a recommended, well, let me go back. First of all, I had a really amazing doctor recommended to me in Memphis. We live just on the other side of the Mississippi-Tennessee line, and I had heard that he was fantastic with natural births, that he was really someone who would let you labor however you would like, and do just lots of things that lots of hospitals for some reason have these big qualms about. So I was like, yes, that's exactly what I want. That's what I've always wanted. So was going to schedule an appointment with him, and my insurance denies me access to him. He literally lives 10 minutes from me. I'm not lying to you, 10 minutes from me. But because he's across the state line, he's even in their network, but because he's across the state line, I was denied access to him. So mind blown at that moment, 7 weeks pregnant, heart palpitations kind of thing. So that was stressful. Had to find a doctor in this area in Mississippi. So we found a doctor that was also recommended to us. I hadn't necessarily read that she was amazing with natural births or all these kinds of things. I just heard that she was a good doctor. Funny enough, she was actually farther away from me than the doctor across the state line, but I digress. Still a little bitter, just a tad. So I went to her for a few visits. She's a really nice person, liked her as a doctor. But as we were talking, I just kind of felt that everything I was wanting to be allowed to do in natural labor was not going to be kind of afforded to me. She would make comments like, I asked her, for example, what percentage of women that she sees does she deliver? Because, I don't want to see you for my entire pregnancy and then have some random person deliver my baby because we've formed a relationship. And she said, 95 to 98% because birth is not spontaneous anymore. And that just whoa, warning signs for me, because I do understand there's lots of different reasons people have to be induced, thus not making the birth spontaneous. But if there's no reason for induction, then birth should be spontaneous, in my humble opinion. Your body will just, go into labor. So just hearing her say that kind of really sparked kind of a warning sign in me, and we kind of talked more and more, and I just was not comfortable going forward with her. Even after 3 visits and all that jazz. So I was already scheduled to see a midwife about being my doula for the birth. And as I was talking to her and just, telling her, what's going on and just how I'm not comfortable and yada yada, she was like, have you ever considered a home birth? And that was not something that was completely just foreign to me. I know many, many people who have had multiple home births and did so fantastically, no problems, no complications, loved their midwives, etc., etc. Now, this is not a video to be all putting your opinions about home birth in the comments below, because there's so much research that goes into home births. It's not like I was voting to have just some random person off the street. come into my home and deliver my baby for me. So whatever your feelings about home births, let's push those aside and move forward, okay? All right, thank you. So my husband and I just felt so comfortable with her, and it just felt so right, and we loved her so much that we decided to go with her as our midwife and to go forward with a home birth. So that was like December 2016? Yes. Woo! Goodness. Wow. Mommy brain is real too. Just saying. So we started seeing her, and it was fantastic. We loved her. I actually had more checked out on me at a midwife appointment than I did at the actual doctor's appointment. The only thing that was different is that I didn't get an ultrasound each time, which I didn't want to begin with anyways, just for personal reasons again. And she checked like all types of things in what was going on in my body, as far as like not only protein levels and glucose levels, but ketone. There's like a whole slew of them that she checked that we talked about each week, and now it's like slipping my mind. But anyways, this was very helpful for me to know that, hey, everything's looking so good. It seems like your diet is going really well, like as far as like, am I eating healthily? You know what I'm saying, after those pregnancy cravings. And so that was just comforting to know that she was really looking into all of that. We checked the baby's heart rate each time I went. She would feel around and feel the baby. And so it was just a really great experience. I loved her, and it was fantastic and the right choice for our family. Might not be the right choice for everyone's family, but it was the right choice for our family. So fast forward a little bit, I had a fantastic pregnancy. Really like no problems whatsoever. Like never had any protein in my urine, never had high blood pressure. My glucose levels checked out. I mean, they were a little low, but that's normal for me because I'm hypoglycemic. So it was nothing new to me. I just knew that, you know, I eat protein to help my blood sugar levels stabilize. So as, you know, we're progressing, getting closer and closer to time, of course, I'm reading some material, and I do want to share that with you today because I found that this material was really helpful for me thinking in my mind, preparing for home birth, and actually was incredibly helpful preparing for natural birth in general, whether it's in a hospital or at home. I feel like these books are really, really, really helpful. So first one up is Ina May's Guide to Childbirth. Now this is a really controversial book because I will say she really tries to discourage you from having even natural birth in a hospital, which I'm actually not like in that boat. I think everyone should have whatever birthing experience they want. I just think that people need to be educated before they make that decision. But what I really loved about this book is that there are so many stories of people who had natural childbirths that are so encouraging. Now there's some that are real, like, I mean, they're all real, what am I saying? But there are some that are very, that were hard. Not like, oh, there was complications, but just like, it took forever, and it was people, and they said, you know, it was painful, it was this, it was that, and you know, it wasn't like every story in here is like, it was rainbows and bunnies and oh my goodness, you know, it just happened in 2 hours and boom, the baby's out. No, like these are stories of real women who, you know, went through childbirth and came out on the other side saying that, first of all, they would do it again, and second of all, that, you know, it wasn't like media portrays it. Like if there's one thing I could get across in this video, it's that media portrays birth so wrong, and that drives me crazy because all it does is instill fear in women to think that birth is this huge scary thing that they will never be able to accomplish on their own, and number two, that you know, like they're not smart enough to educate themselves about it. So that drives me crazy, like literally one of my biggest pet peeves in the world, because birth is not a scary thing. Birth can be a scary thing if complications occur, yes, but birth is natural and it's beautiful and it's how babies get here. So it's not actually something, I mean, it is incredibly special, but it's also very commonplace all at the same time. And it's not something that you yourself can't learn about. So I really liked this book because it gave you real life examples of women and just their thought processes behind how they made it through natural childbirth, what they did to, you know, cope with the pain in the moment. just kind of their visualizations that they had going on, all these kinds of things. And she gives, so the first half of the book is real life examples, and then the second half is just like different things that she would suggest. Now, once again, there's still some controversial information in here as far as, you know, vaccines, medications, things like that. So don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, though. Really just kind of skim through this book, throw away the things that you don't agree with, just like I did, and because I do not agree with 100% of this book, let that be known. But I do think that this is a really helpful source to really get some of that fear out of your mind in regards to natural childbirth, if you're interested in that. And then the book I was reading right up until he was born, and I actually didn't even get to finish, is Mindful Birthing. This is by Nancy Bardick. This probably to me was actually the most helpful resource I had, because, and I only read literally the first third of it, if that tells you anything, because this, it is what it says, mindful birthing. It's teaching you to live exactly in the moment. It's awareness. Because one like example it gave in here that really stuck with me is that during contractions, you know, you've got all of this stuff going on, and in the break between contractions, it's said that you can have like the most euphoric feeling in the world right then, because your body's releasing all these endorphins to counteract everything that just happened. But what most women do is they either think about how bad the first contraction, the contraction they just had was, or they're fearful of the next contraction, and they don't let themselves just live right there in that moment, in that space and time, and feel that euphoric high right then. So I really I took that and I ran with it. Now this book contains some like exercises to practice mindfulness, and I really suggest you check that out as well. But if anything, the part about just really being aware and living in that moment between contractions is what it was amazing. Like such a lifesaver when it comes to natural childbirth, because I would have a contraction, and in my contraction I would think about, you know, not fighting the contraction at all. I would think about releasing, about opening. I know all of these sound like pretty hippy dippy if you're not someone who, you know, reads about natural childbirth all the time like I do. But just relaxing my body and giving into the contraction and letting it do what it's supposed to do, which is open your cervix up for the baby to come. And then when the contraction was over, I literally said to myself over and over in my mind, this is the best feeling in the whole world. This is the best feeling in the whole world. This is the best feeling in the whole world, in between contractions. And it was so restful and peaceful, and that was amazing. So probably one of my like biggest tips, I guess, if you want to call it that, is that natural birth is like a large percentage mind game. And I think like you can say that with anything. Say you're trying to run a 5K. We all know that we can tell ourselves, oh, we're tired, and psych ourselves out, and then we're tired and we stop. Or we can tell ourselves that we're strong, we're powerful, that we can do this, we're not tired, we're you know, I was gonna say strong again, but yeah. So, and that's a mind game. And because of that, we propel ourselves forward, and then we can finish. So that's kind of, honestly, Reader's Digest version of this whole video. What I did throughout my entire birth is I just kept telling myself how strong I am, how my body is capable of doing this, and how and just like the opening and the releasing and all that jazz. So all that to say, so we're with our midwife. We go through up until my due date was May 19th. And we go until week 36. Once again, absolutely no problems. Pristine looking pregnancy. And literally the day 36 weeks comes about, my midwife appointment, I have like slightly high blood pressure, just slightly, no protein in the urine, just slightly high blood pressure. And she was like, okay, let's monitor this. So I want you to check it, you know, two days in a row and like get back with me. And so I was still working full time, and not only was I working full time as a teacher, I was teaching voice lessons at my home after school. So I would work from like 7 in the morning to like 7 at night, and then even had a church job. And so I'm just used to being really busy, so I was not actually slowing down even at the latter part of my pregnancy, which a lot of people don't. So yeah, let that just be what it is. But my body started to respond to that. So I had just worked like a 12-hour day, and I was feeling a little like out of breath, but I thought it was just because, hey, you know, I'm large. I'm almost full term, so I'm pretty big. And I felt a little flushed, and so I took my blood pressure, and it was not good. So it wasn't absolutely terrible. I think it was like 154 over 80 or 90, which is not good, but it's not like heart attack level, you know what I'm saying? So I text her that, and she was like, well, you need to go home, you need to lie down, you need to take a bath, eat, do all of these kinds of things to get the blood pressure down. She came by later that night and took it, which is another wonderful thing about having a fantastic midwife, is that she did a house call at 8:30 at night, and you can't really say that about a lot of people, but love my midwife. Anyways, so she came by, she checked it, and she said that if we got a reading like that again, I mean, it had gone down, but if we'd gotten a reading like that again, that we would have to go to our transport hospital for an induction, because it was no longer safe to have a home birth, which is, well, it was earth-shattering, first of all, because in my mind I prepped myself for not only a home birth, but I was going to have a tub birth as well. So I already had purchased my little pool and all that jazz, and we had purchased everything for this, okay? So I was like, no, I don't want that to happen. I want, you know, my plan to go off as I have scheduled. And so she was like, well, I recommend doing a little bit of a modified bed rest. I would take off work this week and just kind of chill around the house. And we drank lots of teas and different things. I cut out salt and sugar and everything to try to, I ate lots of almonds, all these kinds of things that are natural remedies for high blood pressure. So I did all of that. And I think it was like 4 days later, I had a day where I just felt, it was the worst I'd ever felt. I was very flushed, I was dizzy, I was seeing spots, what else? I was out of breath, and I just knew something wasn't right, which was so frustrating because I had an amazing pregnancy, like I said, up until that point. So I was even like laying on the floor crying with my husband, and just because you know, I had done everything I could do to fix this, and it wasn't being fixed, and there was nothing else that I could do. So it felt just like I was out of control at that moment, and that was just not a great feeling. And so I called my midwife, and she came over, she checked it, and she said, okay, let me go call my doctor, because she has, like I said, a transport hospital and a transport doctor that she works hand in hand with. They have a fantastic relationship. So there was no like problem there. And ironically enough, her transport hospital and her transport doctor was the doctor that I had originally wanted to see, who is so fantastic about natural birth. So irony of irony. And I had a different insurance, so now I could go to him if we needed to. So everything was just like coming into place. So even though I wanted a home birth, my midwife comes in, it's like 8 o'clock at night, and she sits down and she says, okay, we've got to have this baby. And my husband was like, you mean like right now? She was like, yeah. She said, you know, we had just cooked supper. She was like, go eat your supper, pack your bag, no rush. We're going to go on in, and he's going to come in, and we're going to do the induction tonight. Oh my goodness. So I have prepared my mind, my heart, my soul, my body, everything, my house, to have my home birth in my tub, not in my tub, but in a pool, birthing pool here. And now we're going to a hospital. I don't have a single bag packed. If she wouldn't have said as she walked out the door, hey, don't forget the car seat, I probably would have forgot the car seat, because, you know, we never even thought about that because we were having a home birth. So, of course, after she leaves, I have a good cry, just to let all those emotions out. I'm not gonna lie to you. I had a really good cry. And my husband was just like, let's do this. And so I was like, okay. So I had to change my mind. I don't know why I'm trying to get like teary right now. Like it was an emotional moment, and it was beautiful all at the same time. So I had to pack our bag. My husband made me eat every bite of my supper because, you know, I'm about to do something super strenuous. So I ate every bite of my supper. We packed our bags, got the car seat in, got to the hospital around 9:30, checked in, got back. One of my biggest things I didn't want to have done was an IV, but I had to have an IV because I was strep B positive, so they had to administer some antibiotics And so my midwife held my hand and stroked my hair through me getting an IV, because I hate needles. I hate them so much. And IVs are the worst because it's like a big like tube in your arm. Anyways, you can understand why I don't want to go with an epidural if I can't even deal with an IV. I'm not gonna have a big old epidural needle sticking in my back. So, but once again, if that's what you want, no big deal. You have whatever birthing experience you want. So we're in there, got the IV, getting the fluids administered. So the doctor comes in to induce me, and he's going to do it. He knows I want to have a natural birth, so he wants to induce me, obviously, in like the most natural way he can. So what he does is he's going to insert a balloon into my cervix, fill it up with saline solution to where it creates like a pressure on the cervix to start dilating, excuse me. And he's gonna insert, he said a pill, like a fourth of a pill of Cytotec, which that sent red flags off in my mind. You can read all about Cytotec if you want to, but of course I like questioned him just about, you know, once again, educate yourself about people hemorrhaging after having Cytotec, blah, 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 blah. And he assured me he's giving me literally a fourth of a pill, and the reason women were hemorrhaging based on their use of Cytotec or being induced with Cytotec was because a doctor giving too much. So, okay, good. My husband and I like, all right, that's what it is. I thought it was a pill that you were gonna take, like a fourth of a pill. No, they inserted in there with the balloon, just so you're aware. So, do that, and it's like 10 or 10:30 at night at that point. And he's like, go to sleep, call your family. We haven't even called our family at this point. Call your family, tell them what's going on. Tell them they don't have to come in until tomorrow morning. No, labor's really not going to start until then. Okay, that's what we do. Lay down, try to go to sleep. And I start having contractions. Like, I know for a fact it's contractions. And then, obviously, because that's what should be happening, I've been induced. And so, 2 hours later, my water breaks. So the nurse comes in. The balloon should fall out once you've reached 4 centimeters. Well, water breaks. The doctor's like, oh, well, if the balloon hasn't fallen out, we're still good. So I get up to go to the bathroom because my water's broken and I want to clean myself off. Balloon falls out. So the doctor's like, this is going to go a little quicker than we thought. Because every time I was having a contraction in those 2 hours, I was just once again telling myself, I was like, relax. I was breathing deep. I was just letting the contraction do its thing. Like, I wasn't like, oh no, this hurts. And it was painful. Like, I will tell you honestly, they say contractions are like the worst period cramps of your life. And they are. They hurt. Your stomach is literally contracting up. And then opening, that's the point. And so I just would not allow myself to clench or to think negatively about it. I would just, once again, just tell myself, open, release, all of these types of things. And I honestly believe, from the bottom of my heart, that is why my labor started to progress as quickly as it did. Because in 2 hours, like I said, I was 4 centimeters dilated. All right, someone woke up from their nap, so he's gonna join us. Can you say hello? Can you say hello? Yes, he's still in his jammies. So as I was saying, labor progressed really quickly for me, and so we called in our family at that point. Because the doctor had originally said, you know, don't call them in until the morning. But we went ahead and called them because they had a little bit of a drive to make overnight. So labor is progressing, and my fantastic husband, I can't even really begin to tell you how amazing he is. He was with me through it all, as if like he were in labor with me. He was rubbing my back. He was breathing with me every single time. He was whispering encouragement to me. It was fantastic. So to say that I delivered this baby is like grossly untrue. My husband and I as a team worked to get this little boy here. So first and foremost, get yourself a support system. Why are you attacking, Mama? Huh? Why? Do you want to sit on the bed with your toys? My midwife was also there as well. She was fantastic. She was super, super, super supportive, not invasive at all. She would encourage me when she needed to encourage me, tell me different things to feel as it was happening. But she really let my husband and I work as a team, and I'm so grateful for her for that, because it was an amazing experience. Like, I'm here to tell you, it was fantastic, and it made our bond in our marriage even stronger, because we just went through like the process together. It was incredible. So Really? Are you hamming up the camera? Are you hamming up the camera? So we start getting into, you know, the in part of labor, and I will tell you from my experience that the first contractions of labor, they are more painful to me than the last. You get to a point where it's mostly just about the pressure, and you want to alleviate that pressure by either like arching your back or like squeezing your hips, but really that's the very last thing you should be doing. You need to be opening and releasing, once again, relaxing that body, letting those hips spread, letting that cervix dilate, excuse me. So it really feels that your human instinct is going to be to alleviate that pain, but you really just have to remember that this is only a short amount of time. Contractions get up to minute and a half, and you can really do anything for 90 seconds. You really can. So that's what I would tell myself. I'm not going to be on here saying that, oh, everything was hunky-dory 100% of the time. I was perfectly fine with all of the pain all of the time. There were at least 2 instances where in the back of my mind I thought for a split second, you know, you could just go ahead and get the epidural and make this go away, and it'd be easier. But that's once again totally fine if that's what you want to do. But I knew I wanted the experience of natural childbirth, so I just immediately was like, no, that's not what you want to do. Let's do this. We can do this. You've got this. And so I just kept pep talking myself the whole time. So we get to where I'm 10 centimeters dilated, and you know, it's really time for the push-in. At that point, they had a push bar installed at the end of the bed. The end of the bed came off, and there was just like a squat bar, really is what it is. I'll insert pictures of, you know, exactly the position I delivered in and everything. They're not graphic, don't worry. I was holding on to that squat bar and like swaying during the last part of the heavier contractions, and during the break I would like rest over the top of it. So my midwife noticed that I was starting to arch my back a good bit, which was preventing him from coming down that last little bit. So she told me in the next few pushes to squat to the floor, hold on to the bar and squat to the floor. And if you can imagine, that literally makes your hips like open. You cannot arch your back, you can't fight it. And I just breathed through it. And my husband squatted with me and he breathed through it. And so I really was only down there for like 3 or 4 pushes before he was here. And it's funny, so the last 2, I went down, I'm breathing, he's crowning, and I don't realize he's crowning because I said, can I stand back up again? Because each time I would squat, I'd stand back up. Yeah, I was getting a workout, let me tell you. And so my doctor was like, sure, if you can stand back up. So I went to try to stand back up, and I was like, oh no, I can't. My midwife was like, he's about to be here on this next push. So just breathe deep and let go. And so I took a deep breath, I felt it coming on. And each time I wasn't like pushing, like I was pushing because your body at that point is pushing for you, like that baby's going to come. And honestly, in the beginning, you kind of have to fight the urge to go ahead and bear down because you want to give your body time, obviously, to open, so to prevent tears. So it was to that point, though, that like I wasn't telling my body to bear down, but I was bearing down. And obviously, he's crowning and coming. So that last time, I took a deep breath, was breathing, was opening, and right as he's about to come, I sing this like operatic high note because I had been joking my whole pregnancy that the way they talk about releasing your pelvic floor and opening is the same kind of sensation that you feel and you talk about when you're supposed to sing a high note in classical music. I'm a classically trained singer, so I just kind of related it to that. Never in my mind did I think in that moment I was going to sing a high note, but that's just what came out. Like something, I had to do something because there was such a release, and so I sang a high note, and it took everyone by surprise, and it was just amazing all at the same time. And there he was, and so then I got back up. I sat on the bed. They cleaned him off a little bit, just wrapped him up really, and gave him back to me, and then started the process of the afterbirth, which in my honest opinion was way worse than natural labor. Like, at this point in time, I'm totally fine going through natural labor again. I don't want to have to go through the afterbirth, but it's part of the process. So I did have 3 micro internal tears that just really could not have been prevented. I did everything I could to prevent them, to prevent tears, and so I didn't have an external tear, so my perineum was still intact for all of you who were concerned. But I did have a couple of micro internal tears that he had to stitch, so I had to get a shot of numbing medication, then stitches. I was bleeding just a little bit heavy, so they went ahead and gave me a shot of Pitocin just to make sure that that was fine. But my afterbirth went smoothly as well. The worst pain I think I have ever felt was immediately after birth, when you're lying and they have to push on your belly to make sure that clots don't happen. That was so painful. So painful. Worse than contractions, worse than everything else. But that's just what it was. It was over within a matter of seconds, and I had my baby boy and he was here. And I think that's why it hurt the worst, actually, because he was already here. So I was like, I've already done the work. It should be done. But there's still a little bit that has to happen, right? Are we fussy because we're hungry? All right, so he's sitting behind me there so we can wrap this video up. But I just want to say, like, overall, my experience with natural childbirth after being induced and then having like my whole like birthing plan change as far as I was gonna have a home birth, now I'm in hospital, was still like the best experience of my entire life, because I had a fantastic support system it was there with me like the entire way through, encouraging me, helping me, catering to my every whim at that moment. I could just whisper the word water and they would run and get it for me. And also I just came out of the other side of it feeling so strong. Not immediately afterwards, I went and slept forever because I was so tired, but I felt so empowered afterwards. And thinking back on it, like I said, I only have positive thoughts about it, positive experiences, besides obviously the few like little bits about the pain. But I'm not gonna lie to you, I didn't want to talk about doing it again for a couple of days, but then afterwards it was just like, yeah, I can totally do this again because I'm strong, my body's capable, I'm powerful. And it was an amazing experience. I have this little cutie out of it. It was just an incredible experience. So if natural childbirth, all that to say, if natural childbirth is something that you have considered and you're kind of on the fence about, I do encourage you to do your research, read positive stories about it, because there's so many negative things out there about natural childbirth that it's really unwarranted. I just don't understand. I don't understand the fear tactic of making women feel like they're incapable of doing this and all that jazz. So that's a whole nother spiel. But I would encourage you just to do your own research about it, know what you do and what you don't want, be flexible all at the same time, and just live in the moment and really know that you are a strong woman and you're capable of doing this. And if you want to, once again, if you want to. But let's talk a little bit about like postpartum recovery, and then I'll be done, I promise. But there are two things that I need to mention for you. The first one is the Earth Mama Angel Baby New Mama Bottom Spray. The name says it all. You just do a little squirt. It's full of natural, all good natural things, cooling agents, which we definitely want the cooling agents after things happen downstairs. So I would definitely recommend picking up some of this. I found it so helpful. I'll have it linked down below with everything else. And then if you're gonna be a nursing, breastfeeding mama like I am, you're gonna want some nipple cream. Let's just be real, guys, you're gonna want it. I tried the Earth Mama, it's really fantastic. This is the Mother Love nipple cream. They're all wonderful. Get yourself some of that because you're really gonna need it in the first 2 weeks. And then last thing, I would like stock your fridge ahead of time. We actually had nothing prepared because I still thought we had weeks and weeks and weeks. Well, at least 4 weeks, because he was born right at 37 weeks. So I really didn't have anything prepared to come home to. And thankfully we had another good support system in our friends, and they brought yummy goodies, and I ate like a ravenous beast for an entire week, because that's what I felt like. So that is my birthing story video. I hope that you have found this helpful and encouraging. And once again, I just want to say that I fully support whatever decision you make about your own birthing experience, 100%. Just remember, educate yourself, know what you want. Why do you want those things? Is it because you've been told you've always wanted those things, or is it really what you want? So I would just encourage you to do your research. So until next time, remember, you are a fantastic, wonderful, loved person, and we'll see you again later. Bye-bye.